There is no guarantee for success, but there are ways to get closer to it when you do the right things. Who you surround yourself with is just as important as what you do. Finding the right people, the right classes, the right activities, and taking the right tests are all decisions that shape your future. Find out more today on Destination University with Dr. Cynthia Colon. Dr. Colon and her guests will give you the tips you need, whether you're a student, parent, or educator. Now, here is your host, Dr. Cynthia Colon.
You're listening to Destination University, a podcast for college-bound teens and the parents, mentors, and educators who support them. If that is you, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Cynthia Colon, TEDx speaker, college admission strategist, and author of the book, Be Committed, Get Admitted. Welcome to Destination University. We help high school families successfully navigate the college admission process by helping students create an action plan, become interesting applicants, and write compelling essays that increase acceptance letters. As a former admission officer at Vassar College and an elite private school counselor in Los Angeles, I have coached, mentored, guided, and worked directly with over 10,000 students. I know what it takes to get admitted to top 100 colleges. As my gift to you, I'm revealing the exact admission committee process we used at Vassar. It's all in my new guide, 4 questions admission officers ask when deciding who to admit or reject. You can get that at drcynthiacolon.com/admit. In the guide, I share the 4 questions I used in the 12 minutes I had to review an entire application. I give you the order I read the application, what I was looking for, what I highlighted and took note of. If you've ever wondered what admission officers are looking for and how decisions are made, well, today is your lucky day. Again, go to drcynthiacolon.com/admit. Okay, let's get to today's episode. Hi, everyone. It's great to see you all, and we might have some more joining us. We have some fabulous guests here today, and they're going to basically be the star of the show. But we have Fatima, who's the Deputy Director of Recruitment at Rice University. Rice is in Houston, Texas. And Maria Morales-Kent is the Director of College Counseling at the Thatcher School and also formerly of University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So today, or this week, our theme this week in Dream College Academy Module 1 is academics. And so you're learning, if you've been watching the modules, you're learning how to calculate your GPA and what your curriculum should be, the 5 academic food groups, all of those things that matter. So without further ado, I'm going to just pin these 2 so they're the stars. And have you introduced yourself and just say a few words about general academics and well, let's start with introducing yourself and say whatever you'd like to say about you. If you were applying to college today, what would you say makes you stand out? Fatima, I'll start with you.
Oh, wow. Well, hello, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. My name is Fatima Jackson. I am originally from Los Angeles, California. I went to Hamilton Music Academy. That's where I graduated and went on to UC Santa Cruz and University of San Francisco for graduate school. And I've been working at Rice for over 16 years now. And I previously worked at San Jose State University for about 7 years. And I'm just really excited to connect with all of you this summer as you're getting ready and thinking about the college search sort of journey. I think, remind me, your question was about if I'm applying to college, what would I be thinking about, or did I just distort and modify that question for you?
No. If you were applying to college, like what would be, we often say, what is your coolness factor? Like I was obsessed with college football when I was a kid, which was very odd because I was one of 3 girls. So that would have been my coolness factor. What about you?
Yeah, I think for me would have been leadership. I was highly involved, not just in my church community, but also highly involved in my high school. I was student class secretary. I was in student government for several years. I was a cheer captain. I was part of dance team for 4 years. I had a variety of different roles. I also was a part of the musical theater. I did that for 4 years. You know, you name it, I was highly involved in. And so I think my main factor, that nice side, the thing that I really tried to promote was my level of impact and how I could bring that to any campus that I was going to be involved in and maintain great performance.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, Maria, go ahead.
So I'm Maria Morales-Kent, and I'm the Director of College Counseling here at the Thatcher School. It's a boarding school, so we have students who are here from 9th through 12th grade. They're all really great students. So as you know, boarding schools are, should no longer connote the notion that it's kids who are in trouble that go to boarding schools. So I have a great group of kids. It's a small school. And before coming here, I worked at the University of Pennsylvania, and I also worked at Occidental. And the other thing that I did that's sort of connected to what Cynthia is doing now is I actually started a small nonprofit that helps students in public schools learn about colleges. And as it turns out, I'm currently the president of the board for a small nonprofit here in the little town of Ojai that's trying to help kids go to college. So it's really, I feel like I'm going full circle. For me, I was the little nerd person in high school. I was the valedictorian, and I was not really athletic, but I was super involved in ASB. I went to an all-girls Catholic school in East Los Angeles. And I think that the thing that probably prompted people to think, oh, like, let's look at this student, is that my high school didn't send a lot of students to private schools or anything. Most of all the nuns said that we had to go to school in California and be near our families. So that's what most of us did. But I did decide to apply to some schools out of state. And so I think that was helpful to me, is that my little school just, probably very rarely popped up on a docket anywhere in terms of an application.
That's great. Oh my gosh, this is so fun to listen to. So I just have one question for the two of you. And from the perspective of the admission side, Fatima, what does it mean, for Rice, we have a very low acceptance rate. And so we imagine that 60 to 80% of the applicant pool, they're all equally academically qualified. So if you can share what that means that's the first step. You just have to have, you have to have the academics to even sort of do the next thing. So share from your perspective what academics means. And then Maria, if you'll follow up from the perspective of what you share and what you advise your students. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I mean, when we think about academic preparation, we're really looking at a student's pursuit of challenging and competitive courses available to them within their environment, right? We're also going to look at the academic strength through grade performance, academic exploration, achievements or accomplishments, and or test scores if you happen to provide them to our school. So we're looking at the whole concept of all of that in terms of academic preparation. With that highly selective, universities, we have more applications, right, than we have room for at the school. And so we're really looking at those individuals who have those different sort of experiences. And then with that, how have they prepared themselves academically for an environment like Rice? There are a variety of different factors, and Dr. Collins, she had kind of highlighted some of them, but what are some of the course pattern kind of curriculum that you are selecting, and are you pushing yourselves in your academic environment by selecting some challenging courses that complement what you want to study when you come to Rice? We're going to look at those grade performances, scores if they're the achievement, your academic distinctions. All of that comes and starts to create this picture about academics and your preparation with your exposure to academics in your particular environment, your particular school.
So good. Yes. Loving that. Maria, how would you add to that from your own experience, and then also, of course, the college counseling piece?
Okay. So all of you are rising seniors right now. So that means that you've probably already met with your advisor or your college counselor at your home school, and you identified the classes that you're going to take next year as a senior. And so I actually have a class and I give students advice about how to approach this whole process, which is in line with what Ms. Jackson is saying about schools trying to understand who you are academically. What is it that you love to learn about? What are the areas that you do really well in? And how you've been able to demonstrate that through the performance, through the grades that you get in your classes. So here's what I always tell my students. Okay, and I'll tell you, I am at a rigorous school where everybody is always really worried about, am I taking enough APs? Am I taking enough honors? Am I getting enough A's? Everybody's really worried about that. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, for Thatcher, we don't have any AP courses anymore. We stepped away from the AP program, but you can apply this to your school if your school has AP classes as well. So there are a couple of things that I like to tell students. Number one, you should not do anything just to get into a college in terms of your academic program. In other words, don't take a class. It may be one of the hardest classes in the school, and you think, if I take this class, this is the class that's going to get me into my favorite college. You should take classes that, number one, your teachers have recommended you for because they've seen your performance. They understand your curiosity, your ability, your follow through. They see your talent, and they've recommended you for those courses. Okay. They know that those courses are going to give you a challenge, but that you're going to be able to step up to the plate and meet the challenge and potentially then some. In other words, excel even beyond that. So it's really important for you to take classes that are all about what you're interested in, and that follow requirements. Like if your high school requires that you take 4 years of a foreign language, well, you got to do it. But, make a decision based on your passions and your interests. The reason I say this is I know seniors, and come the spring of senior year, when senioritis sets in, if you aren't personally invested in the classes that you're taking because you really love them and you love the teacher who teaches them and you're enjoying the final papers or the final projects that you have to do, you are going to be tempted to slip, and you're going to be tempted to not do the work, and senioritis is going to attack you. And so you've got to pick a program that is going to hold your interest and your commitment to excellence. Because if you begin to shift and not do the work, number one, you're going to be stressed out. You're going to go into avoidance. Your parents are going to be worried. Ms. Colon is going to be worried. And if you don't do as well as you have been doing so far, we don't want a college to reach out to you and say, what's going on? So number one is you got to be honest with yourself and your own abilities and your interest, and pick a program that's just going to be really exciting to you. Okay.
Love. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so good.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, I was going to, oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt.
Oh, I want to say one more thing.
Okay, go.
Okay. So the other thing I want to say is, occasionally, even though I'm telling you this and everyone's telling you all of this stuff about that, you're going to feel the pressure from your classmates who are picking some of those classes, and you're going to step into those classes thinking, I can do it. So you've got to be honest with yourself in the fall. And when it's time to add or drop, ask yourself that really serious question. Is this a class that I can maintain some good performance in? Am I excited by what I'm doing, or am I already flailing? Am I already finding myself overwhelmed and not doing well? Because if you withdraw from a class and change to a different class in that add drop period, nothing is posted on your transcript, right? Because once you post a grade on your transcript and then you decide to drop the class because it's too much, then you need to write to Ms. Jackson and say, I had to drop the class.
Yeah.
I was over my head. I couldn't figure it out, or whatever, right? So it really is about being honest with yourself about what you can take on. And the reason I said to listen to what your teachers have recommended, especially in math and in language and in some of the sciences, it's because they've seen you work and they know what your productivity is and they know what you can handle. And I do know that some schools will allow students to like petition to bypass a teacher's recommendation and move on. And I will tell you this, last year I had three seniors who had to shift out of it, and they were all seniors who were not recommended for the equivalent of calculus A, B, B, C here. And they had to
Wow.
drop the class. And
Wow.
we had to write a letter to the schools and let them know why and blah, blah, blah. So that's my recommendation.
Awesome. Well, those of you who are seniors, type into the chat your questions while I'm going to ask Ms. Jackson to answer this question that I know is on your brain, which is this. How does what I say I want to major in, how does that play a role in the admission process as it relates to, curriculum or academics? How are you, looking at that? And again, my seniors in the house, go ahead and type your questions in the chat.
Now, when you apply to Rice, you have to select one of the 7 schools of study. Okay, our school and every institution is set up differently. Some call schools of studies, they might call them colleges at another university. But basically, when you select that school of study, we then give you the option to identify up to 3 majors or minors or areas of interest. And then with our supplement, we have our first question is about, can you share a little bit more about your academic exploration? And we're hoping that you're going to associate that with the major of choice that you identified. When we're starting to take a look at that, we're going to say, okay, this student wants to major in English. Well, we're going to then look at the school profile and the school offerings, and then your transcript, and sort of make this comparison. What was available to the student? What did they take? And how did they perform in those particular courses? And that starts to tell another layer in the story, okay? I think one of the great things that Maria was highlighting is, really making wise choice. I mean, those wise choices are very, very important, right? Use your network in terms of your counseling community and your teachers who are sharing information about what they may see in you. And some of you may traditionally do exceptionally well in math, but it just comes easy to you, right? But you don't necessarily want to major in it. So you also want to start to look over your last 4 years, 3 or 4 years, what have you traditionally done well in? And see if that might be a particular area of interest that you may be interested in considering while going to college and considering that as an actual major. But in the end, we always want you to be passionate about your areas that you are choosing to study in high school, and definitely how that's going to translate into you bringing that passion to our individual campuses as well for your next 4 years.
Oh, so well, beautifully said. Okay, so good, you guys. We're a small group, so if you want to unmute yourself or just raise your hand, I'll call on you for a question. I see you, Mark. And if all of you, because I don't think we caught everyone before we went on, you can all type into the chat your name, what school you go to, and where you're tuning in from, because we've got people from across the states. Okay, Mark, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Tima and Miss Maria. I'm Mark. I'm from Pasadena, California. I go to a small private school in Old Town, Pasadena. I had a quick question. So, Mr. Tima, with an acceptance rate of so low of like Rice University, Dr. Sloan was asking us earlier, right? You see so many applicants with the same grades, right? The same courses, right? With equally rigorous courses and high grade point averages and test scores too. And so you probably see so many of the same application of high test scores, high GPA with equally rigorous courses that show progression in difficulty, right? So is the way to distinguish between students is do you see the potential in it? Like you're saying how the factor of the applied major and the essay and the type of classes they take And so
Yeah.
is that, what other way do you differentiate a student besides with so many applicants of the same
Yeah.
grades, same numbers,
Good
right?
question. Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. I mean, in all honesty, everybody has a different story, right? You know, if all of us on this call, we're all 18, um, and we lived all over the country, say we're in different states, but we all have the same GPA, and we all got a perfect score on the SAT. The reality is that each of us have very different lived experiences. Right? We're diverse, different genders, right? We have different probably majors of interest. We probably have a different sequence of courses, and how we also communicate our experience in the application is going to be different as well. And that becomes a differentiating factor. I think at selective schools, number one, we want to accept students who can do the work. Okay, we want to make sure they're academically prepared. They can come here, they can do the work, and they can do well. And that may not be a person who has a perfect score. That might be someone who has a much lower score, but at the end, they can still do the work. They'll graduate in 4 years and do perfectly well. But the distinguishing factor becomes a variety of other things. It's all those voices, your essays, your short answer responses, your pursuits, why you want to do it, what really triggers you, what gets you really wanting, as one person said, they want to be a lawyer. Well, why do you want to be a lawyer? You know, who are you as a person? When did you make that decision to be a lawyer? What kind of experiences do you have to be a lawyer? And however that person explains that starts to grab our attention on, is this a new sort of voice, new sort of experience that we want to add into, or that we have a void of? Because all of us want to have varying perspectives in the intellectual discourse experience at our institutions. So that was kind of short. I wanted to make sure.
Thank
Ooh, that was fantastic. Okay, I see you, Ethan. Go ahead.
I have a question on sort of a similar vein. I was wondering, like, with how different schools grade students, do colleges or Rice specifically use AP scores to sort of justify grades? Like if a student is receiving a B+ in a class but gets a 5 on all their AP tests, or someone is receiving an A+ in a class but receives 3s or 4s.
So a couple of things. One, Maria had mentioned at Thatcher, they went away from AP tests, AP courses a long time ago. Every school has a different academic ecosystem, if you will, right? Some create honors courses. Their honors are their highest level courses, or they have post AP, or they classify it as topical, or they have some labeling. So every school sets them up differently across the globe. In addition to that, you also have some schools that are on a 4.0 scale, 5.0 scale, 6.0 scale. Some of them give grades, some of them do written narrative as their grades. Others have symbols, or they use a 100-point system. And we do not recalculate the GPA. So we really study that school profile and the performance that the student is in, and that helps us understand how they're performing in that academic environment. So with all of that, that gives us a picture and an understanding of what the student has pursued. We do not have a preference on if you've taken an AP or an IB. However, what we do notice is, say, for instance, we'll use AP as an example. You took AP Calculus AB, and you got an actual 5 on the exam, but you never took the course because APs are not offered. That then shows us in that standardized testing environment, your understanding of that particular material. There's also the scenario if you were that student who took the AP Calculus AB, but you actually got a C on the first semester and then maybe a B the second semester, but you got a 5 on the exam. It also shows your understanding of the material, that there could have been other factors that factored into you getting a C and then a B in the course. It could have been family situations. It could have been, families. Sometimes there's families who are divorced, and you could have had a personal sickness. All of those sorts of things are then an option for you to add into the application in that additional information section to give us context into the performance if there is any unevenness in it. Or it could just be it was not the best teacher, but you were able to learn it on your own. And that's fine too. But whatever it is, everything isn't going to be cut and dry, just sort of perfect, if you will. So that was just sort of a quick example. I'm not sure, Maria, from your perspective, if there's anything else you want to add to that.
So I think that, as a college counselor, and I've been doing this for such a long time, I do think that the cream does rise to the top pretty easily. And so very clearly, even just here with the students that I work with, I can see the students who are particularly strong in mathematics or in STEM, or who are particularly strong writers, and the transcript really reveals that. So I think that this is part of the reason why I mentioned that as you pick your senior year courses, this is your last opportunity to show a school what you can achieve and how well you can do. And so being really thoughtful about the choices that you're making is great. And at Thatcher, part of the thing that we did is we labeled certain classes honors and certain classes advanced. But part of that is that we do, once our students complete the first 2 years here in junior and senior year, they have a little bit more freedom. And I think that it's really great for me. Sometimes a student will say to me, Ms. Kent, Thatcher, we only require 3 years of a foreign language here at our high school. And so if I have a student who says, Ms. Kent, I've made it to, I finished Spanish 4, and everybody says I have to take Spanish 5, but I really want to take this additional history class that one of the teachers here is giving, who spent a year abroad in Europe, and she's focusing on global crises. And I want to do that in economics, and I don't want to take Spanish 5. And so I think that makes total sense, right? That's the narrative, that's the passion that Ms. Jackson is referring to, that your transcript does reveal a lot about your strengths and your areas of growth and what your trajectory is all about. And when you write about it, you can indicate that as well in some really thoughtful writing. And I also just want to suggest definitely, if there's been any special situations or circumstances that have impacted your classroom performance or your choices, maybe there was a change in the school's department and a particular class you wanted is no longer being offered, and now you had to take something totally different. Those are the kinds of things that can help a university admission office, a college admission office, understand who you are and understand what you're presenting to them.
Love it. Okay, you guys, I want to be mindful of the time that we have with Miss Jackson and Miss Maria. So we have between the two of them, and Fatima, I don't know that you've worked other places, but maybe you have, but Fatima's representing Rice. So I'm going to ask each of them to share their one or two favorite things about, for you, obviously, Rice. And Maria, we have the luxury of you having worked at two places, very different. So you can do that. So we'll start with Miss Jackson.
Yeah, I really love, our students, honestly. Many of our students, I would say over 40% of our students will have more than one major or minor at Rice. And I've even seen students take advantage up to 3. Doesn't have to make sense to anyone, and they get involved in all the different activities and student clubs that are associated with that. And I feel that they feel their academic and career opportunities are limitless in that sense. So it's not restrictive, and it allows students to sort of explore all the areas that they would like. It's a small campus. We have over 4,000 undergraduate students. Majority of our students are graduating in 4 years. And we have these great 7 schools of study. 2 of them are talent-based, which are architecture and music. But then we have business, we have engineering, social sciences, and the humanities. And I feel that our students really take advantage of the full, experience while they're here at Rice. So I've enjoyed working with our students, so much so that I am what we call an associate. I'm assigned a freshman group of students that I follow and hang out with throughout the year and eat in the colleges. to even learn more about them, even though I have my own territory that I recruit from. And so hopefully one of you or all of you may end up considering coming to Houston and visiting our beautiful campus, and we would love to welcome you here.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna see you guys for the first time at the end of July. So yay. Coming to Houston. Okay, Maria, you Occidental and you Penn, your favorite one or two things for each college.
So Occidental is a small liberal arts college in Los Angeles. It was home to me. I went to college there and I also worked for the school. I think the thing that I really loved about the school is the faculty. They were deeply engaged with students, and they were incredibly supportive. And even after I graduated, and even till today, I still stay in touch with a few of my teachers, which I think is really unusual. But I think this as a side note, they have a great science program and they also do really great work in public policy. And then for Penn, it has 4 colleges. It's a major research university there. And for students who have an interest in learning in the classroom, but also have already have thoughts about how they would like to implement what they learn in the classroom in the real world. I think the university's history of a pragmatic at Penn. And I just want to give a shout out to Rice. Just y'all guys, students, it's a major research university. I mean, you walk in and you're like, you feel the gravitas of the place, but it feels like a small college. I think people there really care. It's a really residential program. It's really safe. It's surrounded, it's closed. And it is, I think, you let me know if I'm wrong, but I've been told it has the largest it's like the largest medical center in the entire world because of everything that's related to science, STEM, and medicine that occurs all around outside of the school. That's what I.
Yes. Yeah. But it is the world's largest medical center is right across the street from Rice University. And we have NASA 45 minutes south of us. We have over 2.5 million here in the city of Houston, 4th largest city in the US. I can go on and on and on about Houston and Rice, but thank you so much, Maria, for plugging that. It's an awesome place. And I'm sure after Dr. Cynthia comes at the end of July, she'll have even more information to share with all of you about our beautiful campus. But it's a place you have to come and see for yourself to really, truly appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, you guys, just if you can just visually give a round of applause, and how about some shout outs in the chat? Thank our guests. Maria, Fatima, thank you so much for your time. As you know, our mission at Destination University is to help serve as many public school and Catholic school students that we know don't always have the all the information they need. Of course, that doesn't mean we don't serve our private school students, but really, I think you have here a really great variety of who we serve from across the country. So we'll be sure to get you those students who were here today, and so you have them for to add to Rice. So thank you all. Good snaps and shout outs, and let's blow it up in the chat thanking our guests. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, you guys.
Here's the truth. For nearly 30 years, I have worked at elite private colleges and/or private high schools. I know what well-resourced families do to ensure college success. And I can tell you, if your child is enrolled at a public or religious high school, chances are she or he is already 5 steps behind. However, today is your lucky day. To get you ahead of your private school peers, I have a gift for you. I'm revealing the exact admission committee process we used at Vassar. It's all in my new guide. 4 questions admission officers ask when deciding who to admit or reject. You can go to drcynthiacolon.com/admit to get your copy. I share the 4 questions I used in the 12 minutes I had to review the entire application. If you've ever wondered what admission officers are looking for and how decisions are actually made, you're not alone. Take action now to get 5 steps ahead and begin increasing those acceptance letters. Again, that's Dr. Cynthia Coulon, DrCynthiaCoulon.com/admit. That is all I have for you today, my friends. Thank you for tuning in to Destination University. I'm Dr. Cynthia Coulon. If this episode has in any way helped, fueled, or inspired you, please share this episode with 3 people in the next 30 minutes. You can subscribe to Destination University wherever you get your podcast. And while you're there, leave us a review. It sure does help a lot. By subscribing and reviewing, you help to grow the community of informed families across the nation. And if you haven't binge listened to our previous seasons, do it. With each episode, you'll learn a new tip, trick, or strategy for success. Start with episode 1, the one word every parent should remove. You'll learn my mom's secret to ensuring college success for her daughters. And once again, if you found value today, please share this episode with 3 families in the next 30 minutes. I'll be sure to see you next week, same time, same place. Until then, wherever you are, may you have a happy and sunny day. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening this week to Destination University. Be sure to join Dr. Cynthia Coulon again and get one step closer to your success.